Welcome to. I didn't even promote this. Legit, I made a mistake. Uh, I I was doing other things and not really paying attention, so I didn't come up with an itinerary really for the live stream tonight. So I just settled on Mike Bennett is a weirdo. At that point, we're gonna go. We're gonna go from here. But Mike Bennett is being um, very odd online. Now, it all started with Kane, of course, tweeting out what he tweeted out. We're going to talk about that. We're going to do the WWE Q3 2022 earnings report. We're going to talk about that as well. And then maybe some odds and ends at the end. But I want to start and talk about Mike Bennett and his reaction and his arguments that he's put forward to why children should be involved with drag queens. Okay, so this is an issue, and I'm glad Kane did this because what it did was it started snatching the masks off of all of the weirdos in the wrestling space that decided they was going to try to get attention by trying to drag Kane. And there's a lot of people who don't know the difference between what they are suggesting and what is actually going on here. Okay. So this is a very interesting situation. And looking at Kane's comment section, it is absolutely abysmal. But Mike Bennett is the one who jumps out at the most because he used his kids to virtue signal. You know, clearly all of these people have no idea what wrestling is, what the Kane was saying, why he was saying it, and they have no line in the sand. Essentially, this is all political horse shit. So let's here's the general idea. We're gonna read what Kane has to say. Kane says, over the past couple of days, my office has been flooded with calls concerning all ages drag shows. Let me be clear. I don't care what consenting adults do, but leave kids out of it. As mayor, I will do everything I can to ensure these events don't happen on Knox County property. Currently, however, no law on the books gives me authority to address what happens in private businesses. I do and will support any effort of our state legislature to prevent the sexualization of our children. So these people who apparently have never seen a child drag show, even though they claim that to be really supportive of drag shows, they apparently have never seen one. You can literally Google online a young boy being on stage dressed up like a girl, dancing, and gay men throwing money at him. You can Google that if you wanted to. If that's the kind of thing that you want to see, that's the kind of thing that you can find on the internet. Now, everybody, I don't care how many followers they have, I don't care how many hearts they have clicked on their stuff, all of these people are fucking weirdos. They're defending it because they feel like they have to. That in reality, there is a real line in the sand. A real line in the sand. It's all about where you're going to draw it. All right. There are drag queens out there who will tell the truth and tell you that drag is sexualization. It is literally men pretending and parodying womanhood. Kid drag shows exist. Okay. There was a television show. Well, I guess it would be a little bit different because it would be a quote unquote trans kid, which is different than what we're talking about here, but same difference. It's not really that much of a difference, except for one of them wears a dress for a short amount of time. The other one makes it their whole personality. But ultimately, there was a child who ended up on stage, and of course, I would have the footage, but I would not subject anybody to that. I feel like subjecting people to it is spreading it. That's not what I want. So I decided to take a minute from watching. Uh, I was about to use some inflammatory language about what's happening to Kyrie Irving and what's happening to Kanye West and the awakening that some people are having on that front. To say that we're having a similar awakening when it comes to this whole child drag queen stuff. We're having a similar awakening on this subject. There are some people who choose to put their head in the sand and try to intellectualize what they're seeing, when in reality, what they're seeing is exactly what people are talking about. Okay? There is no two ways about this. There's no two ways about it. But let's use Mike Bennett as an example. Mike Bennett said, quote, "We took our 4-year-old and 2-year-old to a LGBTQ festival here in the town I live in. There was a drag show. They had an absolute blast. They now refer to it as the Dragon Festival. My son will dress up with his sister in a tutu and play with monster trucks. Let's let kids be kids." Wait a minute. Let's let kids be kids. You took your children, your underage children, to a gay festival. You took them there. They didn't ask to go there. You took them there. And then had the audacity to say, let kids be kids. Is this about the kids or is this about you? Now, we know that Mike Bennett is a fucking drug addict. So he's not used to making good decisions. I'm sorry, I shouldn't have said that. He's not used to making good decisions because he's a fucking drug addict. He took his kids to a goddamn fucking gay festival and a drag show, which no doubt was probably his wife's idea because the dude ain't got no fucking balls. And once again, I do say, I wonder whose children those are. He's probably the kind of guy who's into cucking. Now, I don't want to get into too much into the personal attack, so I will try to make that as personal as it gets. Mike Bennett is a drug addict who is recovering, who is, sort of stuck with this manipulative woman, Maria, who seems like she's very nice, but as usual, liberal white women, they're very manipulative. And he uses very manipulative language. Oh yes, I saw the Josh Alexander one. We're going to get to that. We're going to get around to that one too. Here is Mike Bennett continuing after Carmen Sabia called him out and said that his kids should be taken away. I'm not going to go that far. I'm not going to say somebody should take his kids away. I think you have to do a little bit more than that to have your kids taken away. I think it's dumb, but I'm not going to say you should have your kids taken away because you took them to a gay festival, whatever. Mike Bennett said, "My kids were mortified by the arts and crafts, face painting, live music, and overall feeling of love and acceptance. I'm a wrestler, dude. I get your gimmick. Hate and controversy equals likes and views. Just like Kane, I can see a carny a mile away. Use your platform better." Here's the thing, though. I'm pretty sure that if your child was hanging around a little white van and a guy is giving away candy, you're not going to be like, "Oh, my kid was just over there eating up all the free candy. He had almond joys and Reese cups, and he had sugar plum pops and everything. It was great," until he snatched my kid and threw him in the back of that van and drove off. It was all great up until that point. It's not like you'd have no type of suspicion of why these people are even interested in children. Why are they interested in children at all? Why do they want children around them while they're doing this? At all. At all. Most adults operating in an adult space don't want children there. They don't want children there. They cannot be doing anything. They just don't want children there. Half the motherfuckers don't want to take their kids to the movies. And you taking your kid to a drag show? Oh, it was arts and crafts, guys. Oh, I'm pretty sure Jeffrey Dahmer had arts and crafts too. What he had to do, break out the crayons and all of a sudden it was okay? These people have been doing this shit for years. the little white van, bringing kids ice cream and treats, and that's what they call grooming. That's literally what grooming is. We're going to pretend that we're your best friend. We're great. We love kids. Look, I would never harm a child except for all of these drag queens who get busted molesting children. I mean, what? This man cannot. I'm not even a parent, and I know this. Even I'm suspicious of fully grown men wearing women's clothes, trying to impress themselves upon children. I am suspicious of that. You would have to be incredibly naive to the point of retardation to think that what these people are doing is not trying to groom your kids. I will take it even further. He is going to hate his children are going to hate him when he grows up, because strict parents, they're disliked, but soft parents are hated. Because soft parents don't do what they're supposed to do, which is teach life lessons, which is set boundaries, which is teach that there are boundaries, that boundaries do exist. And because you give your child whatever they want, they don't respect you. So you got this guy out here taking his kids to some gay festival, probably at his wife's urging. Yes, who the hell would take their 2-year-old to a gay festival where men are wearing, I mean, come on. I have seen pictures of pride festivals where there are people walking around on dog collars, pretending to be puppies. That's supposed to be funny? That's entertaining to you. That's I don't find that to be very entertaining. Again, I don't have kids, so maybe my brain would be different if I was a father and a former drug addict like Mike Bennett. So, and of course, Maria took pictures. And the pictures of course, of the little girl in a fucking pride flag skirt. The boy isn't dressed up. The girl is, though. Because, again, liberal white woman took her children to a gay pride festival. Liberal white woman took her children to a gay pride festival, put the girl in a pride tutu with it that is rainbow colored. Now the boy isn't dressed up. He's not wearing a tutu. He's wearing jeans. He's 2 years old. He doesn't know what the hell's going on, man. A 2-year-old, you could take him to a slaughterhouse. He'll think it's great. He doesn't really fucking know. He's interested in the world in general. He wants to know what's going on in the world. He's 2. This has nothing to do with the kids. You can introduce kids to anything. If they can find even a little bit of fun in it, it's great. You took the kids there for yourself. 100% of this shit is selfish. Children on their own have never asked anybody to go to a fucking gay pride festival. On their own? No, it's never happened. I don't believe it. You're a liar if you say it happened. I don't believe it. Chuck E. Cheese, Cedar Point, something where they can see like a giant slide or something like that? Absolutely. So you should always question yourself why you would try to turn something that is sexual into something that would entice children to participate. You should ask questions about that. That's what I do. I ask questions about that. What is it about pride festivals, if you must have them, that is supposed to endear them to children? Why? Why does a child have to go to a pride festival? What do they have to be proud of? She's 4. You can give her anything and she's going to wave it around and play. You can give her paint and she'll play in it. It doesn't matter what it is. She's a child. You could take her into the strip joint. She'll find some fun in it. It's dark in here and just run around and try to climb the pole or whatever. You as an adult are supposed to have the gift of discernment to know that your child does not belong in this space. Even if you went there. You should know not to take your kids there. These are the kinds of people who do. It's like those liberal white women over in Europe who keep talking about all the Muslim migrants that they love so much, and they try to help these Muslim migrants, and then they get raped and killed, and their heads chopped off, and their bodies dumped in dumpsters. It happens in the United States too with all these liberal white women. It's the same shit. Liberal white woman thinks that the world revolves around her, that the risks that people are telling her about aren't real, and next thing you know, something bad happens. Now, these are children. These are literal babies, man. And you done grabbed this literal goddamn baby and took her to a gay pride festival and put her in a goddamn jumpsuit where she looks like she fits in. She's 4. Why is she wearing an LGBT pride dress? Why is she wearing that? She didn't choose that. You put her in that. You, as the adult, put her in that. If she wanted to eat paint chips, you wouldn't let her do it. Because you're supposed to know better. But she wants to eat the paint chips, so that you wouldn't let her do it. You, as an adult, know better. So you can't blame the children. Oh, the children had fun. Fuck that. We know better than that. It ain't got nothing to do with the kids. It had everything to do with you. I guarantee you it was a weirdo out hanging around outside your house, giving away free candy, looking very creepy, like that neighbor on Family Guy. You be suspicious. You wouldn't be like, he's so LGBT. No, you'll be like, hell no. This dude is a weirdo. Does your child actually have to be preyed upon before you smarten up? Where is the line in the sand? Where is the line in the sand? Mike Bennett is a drug addict. His wife is a liberal white woman who is politically a feminist and probably has a bunch. He's likely raising somebody else's kids, and he don't know nothing about it. So let's talk about let's finish Mike Bennett, because he had a little car video that he wanted to talk about here, and I thought this was very interesting. So I'm going to play the audio for the car video, and then we're going to move on to Josh Alexander.
We are all battling.
So let's hear this sermon from Saint Mike.
It's often said, but I think it bears repeating. We are all fighting a battle that nobody knows, nobody understands, nobody has witnessed. We all understand our own personal battles, our own personal demons, and we all understand that those battles, those demons, they're all shades of gray. They reside in the area of gray, and it's never black and white, and it's always completely nuanced. But we tend to forget that when it comes to other people. We don't offer them the same grace. We don't offer them the same compassion. We don't offer them the same sympathy. Understand, we are all battling. We are all struggling. We are all fighting. And if there's one thing that I can wish for you or hope for you, it's that you get through your battle, you get through unscathed, and you come out stronger and better than you were before. But I also wish that you show that kind of empathy and that kind of sympathy to someone else, someone that you don't know, or someone that you're completely unaware is fighting a similar battle or a much more difficult battle than you.
Oh, I'm so sorry. I need to be sympathetic. I need to be empathetic. These words don't mean anything. Right? Why would I have empathy for somebody that I feel is preying upon children? What am I going to be empathetic about? I understand you exist on the margins of society. Here, have my 4-year-old. Fuck you. Fuck you. I have no empathy. There is things in life that are black and white. People who are trying to do any kind of sexualization around children deserve the axe. Period. I don't give a fuck if they're man, woman, man, woman, Latinx, chinks, Jewish, whatever. Oh, but they're just trying to live out who they really are. No, they're literally playing characters. You're a fucking idiot. Smarten up. Don't take your kids around these weirdos. I don't get it. I have zero empathy. Zero. You're wearing a costume, bro. Drag ain't nothing but a fucking costume. You're wearing a costume. Go take that monkey shit off. You want to get treated with some goddamn sympathy or some empathy? Be real first. Go take that monkey shit off. Kick off that goddamn clown suit. But you can't be real. You don't want to be real. And talk about how many of these people are pedophiles or other kind of pedophilic adjacent weirdos. Oh, because they might not be pedophiles themselves. Oh, but they'll definitely turn a blind eye to pedophilia. And we already know that happens. We know that it happens. They won't even discuss sometimes the amount of pedophilia that goes on. I'm not even talking about transgenders. I'm talking about these fucking drag queens. I'm not even talking about trannies right now. All right? It just is what it is. This dude is a fucking weirdo who is trying to, it is literally biblical. The sacrifice of children. Okay? It's a tale as old as time to believe in something so much that you are going to literally put your child on a stone tablet and let them be gobbled up by a demon. It is something that is as old as time. That's one of the ultimate tests. It is an ultimate test. Do you truly believe? How much do you really believe? Oh, you believe enough to put your income on the line. You okay? That's some pretty good belief. Are you willing to put your life on the line? Okay. All right. You really down for the team. You're willing to die for the team. But are you willing to put your kid on the line? And you're a true believer. If you are willing to raise your child and then say, I sacrifice my child to this ideology. And we see people doing it all the time. Dwayne Wade's doing it. Dwayne Wade did it. And I know that's different. That's not child drag queens, I know. But he's doing it. He's doing it. I bet you if you made it illegal for people to profit off of that whole shit, they'd stop doing it. If you say if you pass a law, and I'm not saying that you should, I'm just saying if you did, that says you can't have any child under the age of 18 involved with any type of drag shows, trans shows, or anything like that, anything of the sort. And you can't monetize it in any way, whether it's on YouTube, you can't pay for any sort of subscriptions for it, no advertising dollars, no merchandise, nothing. It'll probably all just evaporate overnight. I guarantee it. There's tons of people out here who look at their own situation and they say, I want more. I want more money. I want to be more famous, whatever the case may be. I am willing to put my child on the chopping block. And people do it all the time. People put shit in front of their kids all the time. All the time. Let me tell you about this time I made this girl cry, Darren Gordon Hill. I was arguing with this chick, right? About this very same Dwayne Wade situation. I went and I found a video of Dwayne Wade's son. Back when he was Dwayne Wade's son. And sent it to her. He was a normal ass boy. And I said, this was before, at least I think it was before, really Gabrielle Union had really got her fingernails into Dwayne Wade. He's just a normal boy. She started crying. Why? Because she believed the whole story of he was always this way. That story when it came out, oh, he was always that way ever since he was a baby or some shit. And then you see videos which Dwayne Wade recorded himself and put online of his son being a normal, well-adjusted boy. And she broke down and cried. I didn't even argue with her anymore after that. I just say, what happened between that point and now they changed the boy's name and the boy's wearing dresses? What is going on here? What's happening? What do you think happened? Why do you think that there are so many young, especially black boys, in Hollywood cross-dressing? I mean, is it just something I noticed? Why is it that so many of these discombobulated soft ass daddies like Will Smith, that their children are the weirdos, the ones who show up in places wearing Batman outfits, who his children are writing love letters to Tupac, who was dead 10 years before they were fucking born? How is that happening? Who he gets embarrassed on national television and he's crying. It's not just the gay stuff, man. It's not just the gay stuff. It's not just the trans stuff. It's not that. Even when you look at people who end up heterosexual at the end of the day, they still end up fucking weird because they're exposed to soft, weird shit all day long. All day long. Their parents are engaged with a lot of new age nonsense all the time. Just new age horseshit all day. They start to believe that shit. They start to think it. And next thing you know, they just doing odd shit. You know? And it's who knows where it goes at that point. You know? But Mike Bennett is a fucking weirdo, man. I really hope that his kids grow up well adjusted and his family is very strong and everything. But he's looking like he's going out of his way to really bust it up and fuck it up. You know? He's just going to let his wife, you know, run him around. And I can tell that 10 years ago, this guy wouldn't have taken his fucking son to some gay festival. He would have been like, what the fuck am I going to do that for? Is there literally no other festival I could take my child to? Did I have to take him to a goddamn gay pride festival? Was there literally nothing else going on in that town that day? There wasn't a rusty nail you could have ran your head into? You had to go to a gay pride festival? Do you want to hear music that bad? Do you want to hear bad music that bad? It's literally cultural pollution. That's literally what it is. You could tell a lot about an area by the pollution. That's what I noticed that growing up, right? I used to have dreams, right? And I was about 13, 14 years old. And I used to get on the bus, go to the mall. And you could always tell when you left Detroit because you stopped seeing potato chip bags on the floor, on the ground outside. You stopped seeing bums sleeping at the bus station. You stopped seeing liquor stores on every corner. You stopped seeing drugs, drug needles. You started seeing intact families. I started seeing little white children walk the streets by themselves, 4 or 5 years old. They're probably a little bit older than that, probably like 8 or 9. Walking themselves to and from school. No adult in sight. I remember sitting on the bus thinking like, God damn, it's a completely different world. It's a completely different reality out here. You know? And you say to yourself, if only I could have something like that. And then you turn around and you go the other way. You go from the suburbs to Detroit. First thing you start seeing, fucking flaming hot Cheetos bags on the street. You start seeing bums. Start seeing winos. You start seeing beer and wine liquor stores. You know, it's like I walk down the streets these days now. Like I said, man, there's more dispensaries in these areas now than there are grocery stores. It's all just cultural pollution. This shit has no value to society, but it exists because somebody is willing to create it. And then there's a massive cultural push into you doing it. I started getting suspicious of weed. I know this is going to piss people off. I started getting suspicious of weed when I started seeing everybody talk about how they smoke weed. You know, when I started seeing like multimillionaires talking about, oh, I love a good joint. I love weed. I just started saying to myself, okay, they're trying to normalize it. Why? What is it about weed that they're trying to push upon people? Oh, we're trying to turn away all these misconceptions about marijuana. Okay. Then I realized that's all they do. They just keep trying to change the misconceptions of things. First it was weed. Now they're giving away heroin needles. How fast did we get from ain't nothing wrong with your kids smoking a little bit of a joint? They can smoke a joint. It'll be okay. To all of a sudden, we're going to give your son a heroin needle because we don't want him to OD. And we want to make sure he can manage his drug habit. What the fuck? How about no? How about no? How about no drug habit? How about no drugs? How about that? Oh, what are you talking about? That's crazy. They can't factor a world where people are saying hard line, no, I don't want you to give people drug needles because I don't want them on drugs, period, at all. No, it's the same thing here. They can't imagine that people don't want their children to go to drag shows because they don't understand that people don't want this shit around their kids at all, period. There is certain subjects that people don't want around their children at all. Again, sex education was something people argued against long before all the gay shit popped up. Before the gay shit even popped up, people were like, I don't want fucking social workers or psychologists and teachers teaching my kids about sex. I think it's inappropriate. And they were like, oh, it's not that big of a deal. It's just biology. We're just teaching biology. It's all slippery slope phenomenon. So now people are looking at all this stuff, all these drag queens and all this kind of shit, and they're yelling slippery, and it's telling you the same thing again, slippery slope. Your kids are not going to become drag queens. They're not going to become trannies. They're not going to become gay because of us doing pride in school. It's not going to happen. It's like you started having sex education in school to now there's explicitly sexual books in school teaching children how to give oral sex. How did we get from it's just biology to telling children step by step how to perform oral sex? But you're not a pedophile and you don't support pedophilia. Even though we saw, and you probably couldn't find it nowadays, but TEDx was promoting we need to be kind and gentle to pedophiles. They know not what they do. There's MAPS, minor attracted persons. See, that's different. That's different from a pedophile. They don't actually touch children. So I asked the questions about somebody like Mike Bennett. What's your line in the sand? What is it actually? Because I wouldn't want my kids around that at all. That's like I wouldn't want to take my kid to a fucking strip club. All right? I wouldn't take my kids to a strip club. I think what Lil Boosie did with his son was completely irrational and ridiculous. He said he paid somebody to suck his son's penis. And his son was like 12 or something like that. Like that's sexual assault. Why would you do that? That's wrong. All right? That's just flat out wrong. And that's a heterosexual position. He did that. He was wrong. Somebody needs to investigate that Negro. But Mike Bennett is willing to walk his kids up to the big white van with Ed Gein or whoever smiling in his face, giving his kids cyanide-filled lollipops or some shit because he wants to virtue signal on social media about how he's a good guy. He wants good boy points. He wants good boy points so badly. He's willing to sacrifice his children, which no doubt is his wife's idea. And I hate that I went down this road because I'm supposed to be talking about wrestling tonight, not this shit. But it all ties together. You know, it's embarrassing, man. And then Josh Alexander doubles down because, virtue signaling. Virtue signaling is contagious. It's contagious. Here's what Josh Alexander wrote. My 7-year-old came home from school with painted fingernails. I asked him why he painted them. He said a kid in his class is being bullied because he paints his nails and wears pink. So he painted his nails too, so the bullies wouldn't just bug him. Oh, so your son just, if this kid was laying down in front of a fucking train tracks, is your son gonna do it too? I don't want my friend to just get hit by the train. I want to get hit by the train too. That's not how you handle this situation. This is not how you teach your son to help his friends. You can help your friend without being a weirdo too. I already know it's cap, Darren Gordon Hill. A lot of this shit is cap. Now, if it wasn't for Maria actually having pictures, I probably would have called Cap or Mike Bennett too. But Maria had pictures. So it was her idea because Mike wasn't in none of them pictures. She's in the picture with the kids grinning and shit. Mike wasn't in none of them pictures. He might as well have been her boyfriend and not her husband and father of her children. But Josh Alexander, again, being shit parents. Oh, my friend is getting bullied, so I'm going to do the thing that gets him bullied. I'm going to do it too. It's like, okay, they forced my friend to eat worms, so I'm just going to start eating worms too. My friend jumped off a cliff. I don't want him to be alone, so I jumped off the cliff too. It's like, where is your gift of discernment as an adult? Where is your adulthood to step in and say, okay, we appreciate the effort, but you ain't have to do that. Here's how we handle when our friends are getting bullied. Here's how we can stand up for our friends without putting ourselves in a compromising situation. Why are these people not adults? Okay? It's very weird. It's what these millennials call adulting. They just permanent man children and stuff like that. I get called that a lot. I like comic books. I kind of still like video games. I watch anime, all that kind of shit. You're a man child. Maybe. But I can adult rationalize. I can foresee situations that don't seem right. Neither one of these stories seem right to me. Now, 90%, I bet you that Josh Alexander's story is probably cap. But let's say that it's not. Then he just shows that he has no conception of how to help his son, help his friends, which is something that a man should know how to do. A man should always know how to, if your friend do something dumb, fucked up, stupid, or whatever, how you cannot be a part of that, especially since it's already been done. You cannot be a part of it, but you can still help. Because I've had friends do plenty of dumb shit. And yes, you do have to stand with your friends when they do dumb shit. But you don't do the dumb shit right along with them. Oh, I didn't want my friend going to jail, so I helped him rape her. I helped him steal that car. It's like, why would you? That's not how this works, brother. That ain't how this works. I didn't want him to be alone. Sometimes you got to do shit alone. 9 times the boy probably born alone. He gonna go in his casket alone. We gotta smarten up here. You gotta use better decision making than this. This little dude's 7. He don't know any better. But then it begs the question, what the fuck is his father teaching him? What is his father teaching him? That's what I want to know. What are you teaching your kid? That your kid thought this was the way to handle the situation? I don't know, man. These dudes weird. And this Kane tweet is really, it's like Scooby-Doo. I'm seeing every time I look at the Kane tweet, I see somebody differently getting that joint snatched off their face. Oh, I've been blocked by Mike Bennett for a long time. I happened to see it because I think a wrestling site posted about it. So I happened to see it. But I've been fired up all day. Not just because of Mike Bennett, but because we're literally watching the exercise of power and brain control, brainwashing, all over social media, all over 3 subjects. One is this drag queen trans kid stuff, which is very contentious. Some of this stuff is a lot of it is based off of Takeoff being murdered and how people should react in the hip hop culture for that. And the third thing, which I forgot because I was looking at the comment section. I've been blocked by Mike Bennett for a long time for calling him a cuck. And sometimes I just don't respect the dude, you know. So I'll take that block with a goddamn shield because I don't respect him. I didn't respect him after he did that gimmick in WWE where he became Mike Kanellis. I thought it was corny. I thought it set a bad example. You know, he created a character where he humiliated himself. You know, so I mean, it is what it is. You know, so he just has no sense of pride. Like for all the pride that we're gonna have pride flags and pride this, pride that. He had no pride in himself. He just went out there and decided, I got a job because of my wife, so that's the gimmick I'm going to roll with. And I think that that's incredibly sickening, and it's sad. You know, it's very sad that he ends up in this situation. No, I did not see what SRS said because I have no idea what he actually said. So I don't know. I know he argued with JD from New York on these various. I don't care that much about Sean Ross Sapp, but what did he say for the record? Just because I mentioned it, what did he say? Yeah, Kyrie Irving is absolutely getting raked over the coals and it's an interesting situation because the guy willing to dig into his own pockets, give them $500,000 to the Anti-Defamation League, and they're willing to he willing to give them that money, but that ain't what they wanted. That wasn't enough. They want him to grovel. They want him to apologize just because he posted a fucking picture to a movie on Amazon. They want him to grovel, to get on his hands and knees. And you should, and look, again, your shit speaks for itself. The guy who owns the Nets, what religion do you think he's a part of? The guy who runs the league is a part of that same, let's say, tribe. And look at how they're treating him. Look at how they're treating him. SRS is always rambling about something. He's soy filled. That's why he's so emotional. You know, he's a girl in boy pants. You know, it's very weird. And I've been blocked by him too for the same reason. I have zero patience for some of these guys. Some of these guys, man, you can, even though you don't like them, you can respectfully disagree. You know, other people are they add no real value to your life anyway, so you might as well go ahead and set a flamethrower to it. And SRS is one of those guys. Dave Meltzer was another one of those guys. Mike Johnson was another one of those guys. Where I saw no value in them, and therefore I took a flamethrower to any kind of conversation I had with them and made them block me. Same thing with Vixen Span, you know. And even though I say they add no real value, I still think that they have some value in the space that I operate in. And for instance, PW Insider is okay. Vixen Span actually does a good job of, research and gathering information. Even if he comes up with the weirdest sort of, how could I say, what's the word I'm looking for? His conclusions are very weird. He at least gathers the information. So you can at least see for yourself where he got some of his information. Like I recently stumbled across a pretty decent Vixen Span situation. How many people have I pissed off? Man, damn near all of them. the wrestling media, which actually probably helped to slow the growth of my channel, is that I've been blocked by most of these guys. I just got blocked by Brian Zane today over this subject because he kept talking about the same thing I did with the Fightful guy. You know, he didn't block me because I didn't say anything to him, except you know, I probably said something to him, but I don't remember what it was. Then I muted him, so I didn't block him. I just muted him, so I got tired of that shit on my timeline. But Brian Zane was talking about how pro wrestling is an all-age drag show, essentially, and that, you know, as if drag had never happened in wrestling before. He was posting pictures of like Briscoe and Patterson in drag and Goldust and all this kind of stuff, not realizing that the Attitude Era was for college age kids. You know, like part of the reason why WWE got in so much hot water for the Attitude Era is because small children was watching that shit. And, you know, WWE ended up following their demographics eventually. You know, eventually they did start following their demographics and actually change their content. But for a long time, they were fighting it. They wanted the college age male demographic. And therefore they went a little overboard with the necrophilia and the young black man and the old white lady and the lesbians and the hot lesbian action and the bra and panties matches and all that kind of stuff. They went a little over the line. All right. Yeah, Santina and all that kind of, you know, and all that kind of shit, right? They went overboard. And if you can, all these people who claim to be historians, all you gotta do is look it up. All you gotta do is look it up. You can look it up how WWE got blasted at every opportunity, from like Mushnick, from the guy who was involved with the Ring Boy scandal. Well, not involved, with the victim of the Ring Boy scandal, who was still a fan of WWE, who was still sort of standing by Vince even in the early 2000s. But he was freaked out by the sexualization that was going on the wrestling show. He didn't want to see it. There was tons of other old wrestlers. Bruno Sammartino did not like what was going on in the Attitude Era. It wasn't family friendly. People who had a family friendly sort of curve to what they wanted to do, they hated the Attitude Era. And now Brian Zane is like, Kane, look at what you did. Look at what the WWF did. And it was like, well, there are zero children, absolutely zero children involved with anything involved with the Attitude Era. I do not remember at all a little boy being in drag during the Attitude Era. I don't remember that at all. Point me to it if you saw it. I ain't see it. Goldust may have worn lingerie, but I ain't see him dancing upon the with no kid. There's literally a drag queen show in which there's a neon sign that says it ain't gonna lick itself. And there's an adult male dancing around in drag with children on the stage with a sign that says it ain't gonna lick itself. Oh, but it's not sexual. Not at all. Not sexual at all. Then what the fuck is it? Is it tap dancing? What is it? Make it make sense to the average Joe. And what is it about it that you want children involved with it? So he blocked me because I provided him with examples of what he was defending. And he didn't want to see that. Of course he didn't want to see it. Of course he didn't want to see it. It's like Dante's Inferno. How many of these people don't want to come face to face with their own sin? Of course he didn't want to see that shit. Of course he didn't want to see that. John Cream is absolutely right. You know, the modern wrestlers are what make wrestling so terrible. Somebody posted a video of Sherry Martel and Luna Vachon having a promo battle. And everybody was talking about like, oh man, imagine if we had women like this today. And I said there's not enough cocaine and steroids in today's modern wrestling. Everybody's too goddamn soft. to let a Luna Vachon, who got into a fist fight with pretty much every woman in the locker room. If Luna Vachon was alive today and was getting into as much trouble as she got into in the past, they would hate her. They wouldn't love her. They love Luna now because she's dead, and they can lionize some of the stuff that happened. But Luna got into a fight with pretty much every single woman she shared a locker room with, and Sherry wasn't that much better. All right, you had to be a certain kind of woman to survive in the locker room in those days. Sunny wasn't very well liked, neither was Sable, and neither was China. In fact, find a woman who was in those locker rooms in that era who was liked. It was probably Lita, and that's probably it. It's probably Lita. And that's like the list. People didn't like Terry before she even got there because they thought she was a ring rat. That was one of the things between, I think, Goldust and Dusty, is that Terry had a sort of bad reputation. But he stuck through with his wife anyway, which, you know, rightly or wrongly, guy made a decision. He had a child, you know, break up his family because his dad didn't like the girl he was with. You know, at least he was a man and took an L on his own accord. But that's the kind of shit that happened in the past. You know, like the only person who really gets canceled for the past shit is the Fabulous Moolah. That's it. Medusa was no goddamn saint. She got into a fight with pretty much every woman she got into backstage. You know, like it was just a common thing in the United States, let's say. But when you look at it, these people aren't really tough anymore. They're all out to score good boy points, even no matter what that means that they have to defend. It's not having any sort of respect, honor, code. Like it became so weird how the softest, most manipulative, whiny motherfuckers became the top guys, the CM Punks, right? CM Punk comes out, everybody thinks he's the baddest motherfucker of all time. As he talks shit from a podcast, he had nothing to say to nobody's face because they'd have beat the shit out of him. Clearly, he couldn't fight. They'd have fucked him up. You think CM Punk with his bitch-made tactics would have survived in the 80s or in the early 90s? No. No, not at all. If they get their jollies out of stuff like Sheamus got punched out or JBL got punched out. Like, yeah, they got punched out by fucking men, guys who stood up for themselves. Doesn't matter what your size is, you stand up for yourself. These fucking dudes run the podcast and bitch and whine and complain and try to turn the fans against you. They're not going to smack you in the mouth. Some of these dudes, if wrestling was run by dudes who would smack you in the mouth, like it used to be, a guy who would stretch you and then go smoke a fucking cigarette and drink a fucking 40 ounce, you know, this business will be in better shape, but it'll be significantly less professional. So you got to have it. You got to have it one way or the other. It'll be more professional. It's more professional today, but these dudes probably need bodyguards now because they can't fight. A lot of them are smaller as shit. Most of them are charisma vacuums. They can't really, you know, stand on their own 2 feet in terms of cutting a promo or having style or drip or whatever. But if you go back to the past, you're talking about dudes who are probably going to be dead by the time they're 50 because they're living too hard. They're getting into fights literally all the time. They're pulling guns on each other, knives and shit. You know, dudes got killed in the locker room. It's probably not a good idea. You know? So it depends on what you want. I could appreciate a lot of the territory stuff and the guys who came out of it, but I think they're probably better off today, even though I think a lot of these wrestlers are cupcakes. You know? They out here trying to virtue signal online, but it is what it is. It's awful. I could just tell that if CM Punk would have tried that I'm a locker room leadership with Steve Austin or something like that, he'd have been outside picking up litter. He wouldn't even been allowed in his fucking locker room. You know? It said, John Cream said, that's one thing I agree with Jim Cornette about. Now there is no restrictions on who gets in the wrestling business. Yeah. Yeah, but a lot of these guys They caused this themselves by running their companies in a way that didn't make sense. You know, like for starters, you used to have to be a shooter to get into the wrestling business, right? In order for somebody to agree to lose to you, you had to have some kind of background. That way, it was a good boys club. I know that we legitimately can go out there and wrestle. I can defend myself if you try to shoot on me. I can defend myself. I might not win, but at least I can defend myself. That a real match between the two of us would last forever and somebody would get hurt and we wouldn't be able to make any money, or it'd be boring and we wouldn't be able to make any money. So they decided to, are we going to change things up again? You know, somebody's going to agree to lose. Somebody's going to, do the favor, that kind of thing. At that point, they decided, okay, well, this guy's a football player. This guy's a former boxer. You have to be an athlete, you know? Okay. Football players are big guys. They're tough. I can agree to lose to a football player, tough guy, sucker punch, flying tackle or whatever. All right, cool. Now, these guys are basically former drama students. Guy was a gymnast. And I know I love AJ Styles, but he has no history in contact sports as far as I know. He didn't play football or anything. Like, he was a fucking gymnast. And it's like, I don't know, man. And now, some of these guys are even worse than that. I've been wrestling since I was 14, Rey Mysterio types. It worked out for Rey because him being small, you don't expect him to play like football or anything like that. He's tiny. But now you have big dudes who have no athletic background to speak of, and they're involved in wrestling. And wrestling is trying to organize itself and become a little bit more professional. And in doing so, they end up with a situation where they can't train guys the way they used to be able to train them, like in the past. So now you got Luchasaurus, guys like him, who, oh no, I'm doing calisthenics too much. My ribs hurt. I'm going to send a letter to the office. You're working us too hard. You're doing too much, and all this kind of shit. And sometimes, yeah, you want to complain about being abused. I get how you might be abused and you don't want to tolerate that. But it's still just a business full of guys who are not tough anymore. Yeah, Hulk Hogan didn't have a background in sports. Well, I think he did play sports, but I'm not sure what the sport was. I'm trying to. I don't want to lie. So, but I think he played something. I know he wanted to be in a band, and that was one of the big things. And that's actually why, him and Vern Gagne never really hit it off. It's because Hogan didn't have that sort of legitimate background. He couldn't defend himself in a fight. So that's one of the problems. It wasn't, the main problem. The main problem was the money. That was the main problem. But Vern also held behind the idea that he felt like he didn't have to. Hogan didn't need the title or need any sort of push because he didn't have that background. He wasn't there. Hulk Hogan taught Kareem Abdul-Jabbar the hook shot, brother. He says, brother, that's a pretty good shot, brother. Let me use it in the game. I said, you know what, man? Go for it. You're going to be the greatest in this business, brother. I promise you that. And he really did. God bless that brother. He taught the sky hook. Hogan coming to the most far-fetched lies in the world. The most far-fetched, unrealistic horseshit. He literally said he found Kevin Owens, which was the craziest thing in the world because Kevin Owens was already signed to WWE when Hogan saw him, which is the weirdest shit in the world. It's hilarious. Which is great. It is great. Sometimes people just being shitty human beings is pretty funny, man. Hogan being a shitty guy and lying all the time is fucking hilarious. And it's completely uncalled for, but it's fucking hilarious. So that's one thing I wanted to discuss. Mike Bennett being a weirdo, Josh Alexander apparently throwing his own kid under the bus. But it's pretty weird that he would voluntarily throw his child under the bus like that. My child painted his own fingernails. And like, why? Why would you tell anybody about that? Why do we need to know that? Why was that important to us? Was it important to us? Or was it important to you? You know, I want people to think that my kid is a good kid. Yeah, tell me that your kid did something worth a damn, you know, that you taught him. Give me one moment while I blow my nose, please. At least Mike Bennett has children. I'll say that, even if they're not his, which they probably are. I mean, I'm just joking. But that makes him a better man than Phil. I don't like Phil. I don't like Phil, man. He's scared to have children. He's got his ugly ass dog. I'm coming across very negative, and I don't mean to. All right, let's let's move on a little bit. All right, let's move on to something that's so much more interesting as far as I'm concerned. The WWE third quarter earnings statement. I didn't listen to the whole thing because this is what I was listening to that made me late before. I got very negative on Mike Bennett. If anybody was to stumble across this and say that I'm a homophobe, transphobe, or whatever, for starters, I don't care what you think. I don't give a shit. At this point, I'm done arguing about whether I'm a homophobe or a transphobe or anything like that. You know, I am whatever, because you're just going to change the definition of the word anyway. I say again, I'm an individualist. I think people should make their own individual decisions, but you don't get to make decisions on behalf of kids. As an adult, you should be smarter and you should know better than to allow your children to be around people who, you know, there is no good reason for them to want to be around children doing what they do. You know, this is not a situation that involves or has the need for a child. It's just not necessary. So, sorry. All right, let's move on to the third quarter earnings for WWE. They once again looked very good in terms of their revenue and everything. But here's some interesting things from Stephanie's portion that I found to be quite interesting. She said that there's been a viewership boost of plus 5% for Monday Night Raw, year over year, and a plus 5%, or plus 1% for SmackDown year over year. And that SmackDown is number one in the 18 to 49 for all Friday night programs. I'm not sure how true that is, but it's very, very interesting to me that is what they're touting. And it sounds good. I guess we'll find out one day whether it's true or not. Even though the most recent SmackDown ratings didn't do too well, they was in a toilet. I'm talking straight up toiletries. But that was interesting. Their premium live event business is up 38% in viewership. Clash at the Castle was the most viewed international event. Highest grossing with high merch sales and ticket sales. It was a 39% on the viewership. They talked about opening up some new partnerships with like the custom championships, like they did with the Major League Baseball with the Yankees. So that was interesting, and I didn't know they were doing that officially yet. So that's weird. Peacock is doing shit. Peacock is not good. Matter of fact, we'll talk about that later. But Peacock sucks. Peacock sucks. Peacock sucks very bad. Streaming in general sucks very bad. It sucks hard. Streaming on demand is losing tons of money. But Nick Khan got on the microphone, said that Extreme Rules 2022 was the highest grossing Extreme Rules event of all time. He gave the credit to the White Rabbit project that Triple H came up with. Well, his team came up with. He said Royal Rumble 2023 is likely going to be the highest grossing Royal Rumble ever. They've already sold 4.6 million in tickets. They talked about having a $200 million economic impact on Dallas and Arlington for WrestleMania 38, which leads to another little picadillo of mine that they asked in the Q&A. They asked Nick Khan about more government handouts for wrestling shows, more subsidies, because they got tons of subsidies to run in Cardiff. And I genuinely don't like sports subsidies. I just think it's a waste of taxpayer money. I get that the people need their bread in circuses, but usually the people who own these buildings and own these leagues and own these teams are multi-billionaires. So it's just like you wasting taxpayer money for this stuff. At the same time, though, a team in a city like Detroit, most of the Lions fans are probably just going to be people in the suburban area, not really in the urban area. And those are people who buy the tickets and everything, And if they can't afford to foot the bill for a stadium, but they shouldn't have to pay for it. So, yeah, Nick Khan, how about it? Big government handouts. Here's what he had to say about this shit, though. He said there's something that they're looking to take a dive into, that they've gotten similar offers like they got in Cardiff for other opportunities, and said that they're going to be looking to utilize that because of the economic boom that they bring to cities when they bring big events there. So they're about to start doing these subsidies. This is going to start pissing. This is going to piss me off. I'm not a fan of WWE using the taxpayer to pay for their fucking events, especially fucking Johnny Gargano field events. You can fuck right on off with that, buddy. Using my taxpayer money for fucking people coming in asking like, what did Mike Bennett do? Start the video over at the beginning. I started getting right into it, so I didn't even do too much of a preamble. All right, so Triple H talked about the working creative. They're growing their audience all across the social media channels. If there's social media, the most social viewed videos of any sports league are setting all kinds of records to have more engagement and longer watch times than any other time. It's very interesting. And he gave the credit to the White Rabbit project, which he said was launched in TV, social, and arenas around the country. There was no direct media tie-in, at least initially, for the project. They just wanted the fans to discuss it, sort of let word of mouth spread. And what it led was a 20% increase at 9 p.m. on September 23rd. And it led to Extreme Rules being the highest grossing event. Now, remember the whole 9/23 thing for the White Rabbit. So basically, they're saying that the ratings went up 20% at 9 o'clock when they basically advertised Bray Wyatt. So that was very interesting. He gave Bray Wyatt some credit too by saying that Bray Wyatt is attributed to the plus 30% increase in Extreme Rules viewership and the plus 14% viewership for Monday Night Raw. And that in consumer products, Bray Wyatt is now the top merchandise seller in WWE. So that happened fast. And I kind of figured that was going to happen too, because he was one of the top merch sellers before he left, or before he got fired. Uh, so that's wild. It's pretty wild, man. That's just the power of Bray Wyatt as a character, and I like it. Now, we could argue that they haven't really capitalized on it as much as they probably should have. We can all argue that, but the marketing of the White Rabbit project was very fucking good. It was very good. You know, it got people interested in things that they wouldn't normally be interested in. You know, it got people very involved with the product, with the live show, with the social media posts. You know, it made some of their fans famous, because some of the first people who started posting the White Rabbit clips, they gained like tons of followers and shit, you know. And WWE didn't even try to participate in it; they just let people record, and they don't even let you record because you're not supposed to record at WWE shows. So it is it's a surprise to me that they let that work, but it ended up working out very well. So the Vince McMahon stuff, let's talk about that, because the special committee is over. Now, I actually have a secondary source on this, CNBC, but first I have to blow my nose. So get a little bit of a pause here. All right. So here's the thing. WWE ends the investigation into alleged misconduct by Vince McMahon. Let's see what they got to say here. That says the key points. WWE said a special committee probe into alleged conduct of Vince McMahon has concluded. Management is working with the board of directors to implement the recommendations of the special committee related to the investigation. The company said McMahon, who retired as CEO this summer, is a top shareholder and can, quote, effectively exercise control over our affairs, the company said. So, this is interesting. He said he can effectively exercise control over our affairs. Interesting. So, let's try not to read too much of it. Somebody says, Mr. McMahon can effectively exercise control over our affairs, the company said in a Wednesday filing. Almost $15 million were paid to settle sexual misconduct allegations from 4 women against McMahon over the past 16 years. He paid $5 million to Donald Trump's now defunct foundation through donations in 2007 to 2009. WWE, which has been mentioned as a potential acquisition target, has suggested that the hush money payments are an investigation by other entities. And they said that the stock is up. Is it 57%? That's ridiculous. That the stock is up 57%. But it says that the company, this is from Deadline. This is a different article. I'm trying to look at. It says, oh shit, I hit a button by mistake. Okay, so this is what I wanted to see. McMahon has agreed to pay the reasonable costs of the investigation not covered by insurance. They talked about these unrecorded expenses by who all payments underlying the unrecorded expenses were or will be paid by Vince McMahon personally. So Vince, is he going to jail? I don't think so. That's not what it looked like. It's not looking like he's going to jail. I don't like anything bad is going to happen here. Okay, so here's the SEC filing, which I just pulled up. I'm trying to look for some information here. It's a consolidation statements, yada, yada, yada. Let's see, risk factors. Okay, so it says, on June 17, 2022, the company and its board of directors announced a special committee of independent members of our board of directors was formed to investigate alleged misconduct by the company's former chairman and chief executive officer, Vincent K. McMahon. Mr. McMahon resigned from all positions held within the company on July 22nd, 2022, but remains a stockholder with a controlling interest. On July 25th, 2022, based on the findings of the special committee investigation, the company announced that it had determined that certain payments that Mr. McMahon agreed to make during the period from 2006 to 2022, including amounts paid and payable in the future totaling $14.6 million, were not appropriately recorded as expenses in the company's consolidated financial statements. The company subsequently identified two additional payments totaling $5 million unrelated to the alleged misconduct by Mr. McMahon that led to the special committee investigation that Mr. McMahon made in 2007-2009 were not appropriately recorded as expenses in the company's consolidated financial statements. Together, these unrecorded expenses totaled $19.6 million. All payments underlying the unrecorded expenses were or will be paid by Mr. McMahon personally. The company has determined that while the amount of unrecorded expenses was not material in any individual period in which the unrecorded expenses arose, the aggregate amount of unrecorded expenses would be material if recorded entirely in the second quarter of 2022. So this is from second quarter 2022, but this is for the quarterly period ended in September 30th. Okay, so I was right to continue reading that, but then I pushed a button and went the other way. So here's one of the risk factors that they put up. Well, let's continue with this real quick. Professional costs resulting from the special committee's investigation have been significant and are expected to continue to be significant as we continue to incur litigation costs related to these regulatory, investigative, and enforcement inquiries, subpoenas, and demands. Although we believe that no significant business has been lost to date, it is possible that a change in the perceptions of our business partners could occur as a result of the investigation. In addition, as a result of the investigation, certain operational changes, including without limitation personnel changes, have occurred and may continue to occur in the future. Any or all of these impacts, based on the findings of the investigation and related matters and the surrounding circumstances, could exacerbate the other risks described herein and directly or indirectly have a material adverse effect on our operations and or financial performance. So what they're saying is that while, Vince, while his business, no significant business has been affected, but it might damage their reputation, essentially. That there might be some reputational damage due to Vince being the face of the company for 40 years and him getting tied up in this nonsense. It says the resignation of Vincent K. McMahon could adversely affect our ability to create popular characters and creative storylines, or could otherwise adversely affect our operating results. Until he resigned from all positions held within the company on July 22nd, 2022, in addition to serving as chairman of the board of directors and chief executive officer, Mr. McMahon led the creative team and develops the storylines and the characters for our programming. On July 22nd, 2022, the board appointed Stephanie McMahon, at the time chief brand officer, interim chief executive officer, interim chairwoman, and a director of the company, and Nick Khan, at the time president, chief revenue officer, and director of the company, to serve as the company's co-chief executive officers. The board has also appointed Stephanie McMahon to serve as the company's chairwoman. Furthermore, in the wake of Mr. McMahon's departure, our creative effort will now be led by Paul Levesque, the company's chief executive president, vice president, talent relations and creative, and Mrs. McMahon's husband, who has been decades of experience in our company and has been an important player in all aspects of our creative process, including television, talent, and live events. Although Mr. Levesque has extensive practical experience with many of our revenue streams and with Mrs. McMahon has been critically involved in our business transformation over the past several years, as well as our continuing brand development, these collective changes at the top of our organization are extensive. So they're not exactly pitching that they have a lot of faith in Triple H. Oh God, I mean, it is what it is. So it's all very interesting stuff. So I liked it. They're doing okay. Usually when I do these videos, I try to come across something that I think is interesting. But this time, outside of the vent stuff, I didn't really think of anything that was interesting. Vince has been, so many people thought Vince was coming back, or that he might come back, or that, if he beat the rap, he would come back. I knew he wasn't coming back. When they started doing a lot of the changes that they were making, I knew Vince wasn't coming back. When Johnny Gargano got brought back, I knew Vince wasn't coming back. Once Triple H started making personnel changes, I knew Vince wasn't coming back. But as much as Triple H is, oh yeah, I forgot to talk about that. I closed the book before I got into what Triple H had to say. Triple H talked about the creative process. This is something that Nick Khan talked about too. When asked about the rights renewal, Nick Khan said they're looking at the 3 R's: ratings, relevancy, and revenue. So that's what they're looking at. That's most important to them. That's what's important to them right now. But Triple H talked about looking further than they ever looked before in their creative process. And that right now he's looking at WrestleMania, and he's looking at beyond WrestleMania. So he's like, okay, as we approach WrestleMania, I'm also looking into the spring and the summer and the fall of next year. So he said he wants to focus on character development to keep things fresh, and some things will work out and some things don't. And he's not afraid of losses, because losses is how you learn. Just basically cliche shit. No, it was actually an SEC filing, Eric Mack. They basically were telling investors who Triple H was, because he had worked in the company the whole time, but now he's sort of an executive. So they were basically telling people this is what he did and this is what he does now. The 3 R's are relevance, ratings, and relevancy, ratings, and revenue. Those are the 3 R's: relevancy, ratings, and revenue. Are the TV ratings up? Is the company relevant to the cultural around it? And is it making money? So that's what they're looking at. Now, that relevance part, we probably need some help with that. We probably need a little bit of help with that relevance part, but the ratings are up at least for now, and the revenue is there. So 2 out of 3 ain't bad. I'm not saying that WWE is at its most culturally relevant. I don't think it is, but social media, it says differently. It's kind of banging on a social media level. They touted how many more subscribers they had than UFC and NFL and all that kind of stuff on like Twitter and Instagram, and that shit matters because it's ad revenue. So they're looking at that too, and they're saying, hey, people are watching our videos, which Triple H talked about, and they're watching more of them and watching longer videos. So it's working out for them. I know. Let's not try not to laugh too hard at the character development thing, because we know Triple H ain't doing too much of that. He's doing more character assassination than character development. Redemption, restitution, and revenge. Those are synonyms. That's all I mean. They're the same thing. I don't know about the whole relevance thing. I don't know about that. I guess means that did rapper X hold up a WWE championship this year? did football team X get their custom made WWE championship? Who the hell cares about that crap? Nobody cares about that shit, man. What the hell's wrong with these people? But yeah, the character development stuff is hilarious, because it's like since Triple H has taken over, what character has really been developed? It was many, uh, basically, like the honorary Uce thing was already going on before Triple H took over. So they were already doing that. They just kind of leaned into it a little bit more since he took over, but it was already going on. Who has Triple H really gotten over? You know, almost everybody who's in a position right now was okay. Dominic, maybe, but I think Dominic was going this way already anyway too. You know, the whole heel turn and everything. I think they were going this way anyway. You know, I can't think of anybody else. I guess it really did benefit Judgment Day, and they are attempting with Damage Control, but Damage Control is so terrible. It's awful. It's real bad. It's real bad. Oh yeah, I forgot to mention also the Bianca Belair Montez Ford TV show that's going to be on Hulu. That's going to be something. AEW only needs 2 R's. Rick Ross. You mean Ricky Rose? Ricky Rose? Yeah, Triple H getting a lot of credit for stuff Vince already had in place, for sure. I mean, I think that the dirt sheets even said that Bray Wyatt was coming back anyway, whether Vince was there or not. That talks about his return actually began under Vince. So, you know, there was a lot of stuff that Vince had already started doing, and Triple H just kind of either put the gas to it or just threw a little bit more fire on the kindling. But he hasn't done anything. Even when something like NXT, which should have been the easiest thing for Triple H to turn around, it took a fucking nosedive when he took. I still love NXT because it's a zany show, but it is not nearly as fun as it used to be. NXT used to be out of control, man. It used to be wild, and I used to have fun talking about NXT. Now I still have fun talking about it because it's still the loosest of all the shows that are on the air in terms of you never know what the fuck you're going to get out of an episode of NXT. But at the same time, it's not nearly as wild as it used to be. It used to be wild and woolly out there, that NXT, man. It used to be crazy. Him and Sean are getting a little too comfortable doing whatever they want. But those are really the only 2 subjects I had to talk about tonight. That Bianca Belair Montez Ford TV show, I have no idea what it's going to be, but I'm interested. I'm interested. I'm not going to watch it, of course, because I never would watch anything like that. Oh, yes. I got to talk about this. This is I don't know why I didn't think that I forgot to talk about this. But the Saudi show that everybody wants WWE to cancel. So the U.S. is concerned about an Iranian threat to Saudi Arabia. And when this happened, immediately everybody was like, what's going on, man? What's happening here? Is everybody going to die or not? Or what? Is Iran going to nuke Crown Jewel? What's going to happen? So here's it from Reuters. It says the United States is concerned about threats from Iran against Saudi Arabia and will not hesitate to respond if necessary, a White House spokesperson said on Tuesday. We are concerned about the threat picture, and we remain in constant contact through military and intelligence channels with the Saudis, said the spokesperson from the National Security Council. We will not hesitate to act in the defense of our interests and partners in the region. The official spoke after the Wall Street Journal reported that Saudi Arabia has shared intelligence with the United States, warning of an imminent attack from Iran on targets in the kingdom. The Saudi government media office did not immediately respond to Reuters' request for comment. The top commander in Iran's Revolutionary Guards, Hossein Salami, on October 20th issued what he described as a warning to Saudi leaders not to rely on Israel and mentioned their, quote, glass palaces. Oh my goodness, it's the Jews again. Can't get away from them. Saudi Arabia had blamed Iran for a 2019 missile and drone assaults on its oil plants a charge Tehran denies. The leading Sunni Muslim and Shiite powers have been locked in rivalry for decades, backing allies fighting proxy wars in the region. The latest concern come out at a time of strained relations between Riyadh and Washington after the Saudi-led OPEC Plus alliance last month decided to cut oil targets, which raised fears of a gasoline price hike in the United States. Well, if you could just drill for oil in your own country, you would need to. Well, don't do it. I can't say that. But just drill for oil in your own country. God damn it. Just drill for oil in your own country and don't rely on the Saudis. How about that? God damn. So this after all of this came out, everybody was like, "Oh, WWE got to cancel the show." Now, at this point, Io Shirai and Bailey are posting pictures at the airport. They're all on airplanes. Everybody's in the sky, and they talking about cancel the show. It's like everybody already in the sky, brother. They're already in the sky. I don't know what you. Iran, number one, hack to Saudi Arabia, burn in hell. I'll fuck you in the ass and make you humble. It's gonna be awful. It's gonna be awful, brother. But Iran has denied that it poses any kind of threat to Saudi Arabia. So this came out just yesterday, November the 2nd. This is also from Reuters. It says Iran denied on Wednesday it posed a threat to Saudi Arabia after the Wall Street Journal reported that Riyadh has shared intelligence with the United States warning of an imminent attack from Iran on targets in the kingdom. Iran's foreign ministry spokesperson Nasser Kanani did not identify the Wall Street Journal, but said reports had appeared in Western media of an Iranian threat against Saudi Arabia that were, quote, baseless accusations. And that was it. That Iran denies that it's any threat to Saudi Arabia, but it's got enough wrestling fans scared to death. I think there's going to be some truck of peace at Crown Jewel. And somebody's going to wear like a ridiculous shit, and it's going to be dangerous and bad and scary. And now they want everybody to WWE needs to cancel Crown Jewel. They don't understand. Those are like $50 million shows, right? Those are like $50 million. I think $55 million or something like that. $55 million shows. Now apparently WWE is in contact with the Saudis. And here's the thing. I told people this before. They started talking about the whole kidnapping thing. We've got military bases in Saudi Arabia. All right? We do. We've got military bases in Saudi Arabia. The idea that we're going to have kidnappings and terrorism and all kinds of other kind of nonsense, and not likely. All right. Let me try to find Riyadh, Saudi Arabia on a map. There we go. And let's see if where's our military bases. I'm pretty sure there is a military base right outside of Riyadh. And I said this when people were talking about how WWE, how they had, how they were getting kidnapped, and I was like, you know, Vince's friend is the fucking president, right? You know, we have United States military bases in Saudi Arabia, right? Like, they're not just going to allow 50 people to get kidnapped. It's Saudi Arabia, brother. Like, it doesn't make sense. I do believe that our military base is literally in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia. Literally. It's a $50 million show, Eric Mack. They might as well move all operations to Saudi Arabia. Oh yeah. Liv Morgan gonna get put in a statue somewhere. Talk about your white vans. She'll get carried off. They'll probably give her back though. They don't want that shit. They don't want to deal with that. They go, they go fuck around and give her back. But yeah, we got all kind of military bases in Saudi Arabia, man. I'm not too concerned about the danger or the threat of danger or whatever. I think that people just want the shows to be canceled or they like the controversy around the shows. So they just go with it, you know. Oh yes, I forgot. You can't kidnap a grown adult. You abduct them. So Liv Morgan technically is a grown adult woman. She would have to get abducted. You know, Allahu Akbar. Inshallah, Liv Morgan does not get abducted and carried off by crazed, sweaty Muslims. I don't want that. Hopefully they act nice and be on their best behavior. But we definitely have military bases in Saudi Arabia, so I'm not too concerned about kidnappings, abductions, or oil terrorism or anything else. I mean, it was an interesting thing when it popped up because, again, the show literally is Saturday. So it coming out of nowhere was like, oh shit, are they going to cancel the show? But then I thought about it and I was like, you know what? Nah, it'll be all right. Because they already in the air. They already halfway there, you know. And earlier today, I started seeing the set be put together. People were putting out pictures of the set. And I was like, well, if Iran attacks, hopefully it's after the show. Hopefully it's after the show and everybody gets to go home. And they don't get bombed or some shit in the middle of the show. That would suck. You know, that wouldn't be good. That wouldn't be good at all, man. But I don't think it'll happen. I'm not one of those people who think that's going to occur. What do you guys think? Did Liv go to Saudi? I'm not sure she even has a match. So why would she go? That's a good question. She didn't have a match, so did she really have to go? Unless they're going to throw her in a match on the show, which they might do. Because no, she wrestling that. Well, no, her match with Sonya Deville was taped. But then again, there were people who went to Saudi Arabia last time and they didn't have a match. She just went. You know, I know only certain people just absolutely don't even make the trip. MVP is one of them. Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens, those three guys, they absolutely just don't even go to Saudi Arabia. I'm not even sure if MVP can even get in the country. I'm not even going to hold you up. I mean, can you imagine Liv Morgan getting carried off by some sweaty Iron Sheik motherfucker and him tripping over sand dunes, you know, just trying to drag her little ass away? Rick, number one. No, I shouldn't say that. God dang, I shouldn't say that. Well, this thing, look, I think I've surrendered the fact that I'm probably not going to be on monetize this channel. I don't think this channel ever going to be monetized, bro. I want to make some sweet grifting bucks. Why not? But I say too much offensive shit, and I make fun of people too much. Like, I definitely think that this video would probably get taken down if it was monetized. As soon as I started talking about Mike Bennett, that'd be like targeted harassment or something like that, and they'd take it down. So I'm probably gonna have to adjust the title so it won't be as blatant and offensive. And when I put up a thumbnail, it won't be what I want to put up. I won't be able to put up what I want to because they'll take it down. Because last time when I made fun of Lita, I put up a thumbnail and they took it down. Facebook and YouTube took it down immediately. Because I forgot what they said. It was a woman in sexual position or something like that. YouTube was like, no, heterosexuality, no. And I was like, wait a minute. Why can't I do this? Why can't this be? But I didn't argue with them. You're just arguing with computers when you argue with YouTube, man. By the time that shit gets to a human being, it's 3-4 months later. It's not even worth it. That would be interesting if I could find Maria doing something weird. But I think I'm just gonna put a generic picture of her and Mike up, just because I think it's probably just the easiest thing to find. It's just a generic picture of her and Mike, just looking generic as fuck. So, but do I think WWE is going to cancel their Saudi Arabia show? No, that's not going to happen. Now, I guess to double back a little bit about Vince, people are now thinking that there's going to be some kind of big goodbye celebration for Vince at WrestleMania. And maybe he's going to go into the Hall of Fame and all that. He's going to reject that Hall of Fame thing. I don't think he's going to even let that happen. But I do think he may have some kind of going away party or retirement party or something like that. I definitely can see him doing that, or them dragging him into that, and just kind of saying goodbye to the audience, because I think he got one last hurrah, maybe one last stunner or something like that, and that's it for the old man. I definitely think they could do something like that, but they're probably not gonna get him to do the Hall of Fame because he's not going to do a speech. And he ain't going to want to make it about himself. But for all intents and purposes, that loss, they're going to end up paying up a lot of money in lawsuits due to his financial improprieties. But it didn't cost the company any money, and likely he used his own money, so it wasn't not extortion, but embezzlement. So he ought to be okay and not go to prison. But he certainly he was very old. He's almost 80, So getting him out of the seat was kind of important. I'm just not sure Triple H is the right guy. I'm not really a big fan of this Triple H thing. Yeah, there's always something going on with these Saudi shows, man. They're just weird shows, brother. It spooks American audiences to death because they're so fake worried about the wrestlers and everything. They think that it's going to be some kind of Olympics. Like, that's the crazy thing. Like, the Olympics had a big kidnapping once, and they didn't stop the Olympics from happening. Like, there was a bunch of Arabs kidnapped all these people in the Olympics, and people forgot about that, Nobody cares anymore that all these people were kidnapped. Let's look that up. It's the Olympic kidnapping or abduction. It was 1972, the Munich Massacre, 1972, September 5 through September the 6th. 8 members of the Palestinian terrorist group Black September, who infiltrated the Olympic Village, killed 2 members of the Israeli Olympic team and took 9 others hostage. Ooh, that was frightening. And everybody thinks this is going to happen to WWE and Saudi Arabia. I'm thinking, like, nah, it's a different world, man. It's a different world these days. Triple H is perfect for WWE. Who else, man? Look, I don't claim to have all the answers. I'm just saying that I'm looking at Triple H's output, and he's had 100 days in the seat already, and we've sitting here struggling to figure out what he did that was unique and that worked, and we can't figure it out yet. Like I said, I'm gonna give him to WrestleMania. Before I started, calling for his head. But it might be sooner if he really botched the Royal Rumble. It's really gonna be sooner. But I don't know who else it could have been. Certainly not Bruce, because Bruce is just Vince. So it can't be him. And Paul Heyman is one of the biggest marks that ever lived. So no, it can't be him either. And it can't damn sure be Jarrett. Jarrett's a moron. And he had sex with a talent's wife. So no, you can't have that. Look, Vince can bang all the goddamn secretaries and whatever he wants. He's not banging the boys' wives. For Christ's sake, you can't do that. That you can't do that. God, Jarrett, what the fuck? You can't do that. Shane McMahon. I don't understand what people think Shane McMahon. Like what's a Shane McMahon idea that's good? I don't know. I forgot. I was supposed to do this NXT 2.0 unboxing. I was supposed to do that. These trading cards. I have these trading cards. I meant to unbox them. I'm sitting here looking at them like I knew something was supposed to happen. But whatever, man. I guess I guess we'll. Fuck it. Might just open them myself and just put the fucking cards up and not try to make it a goddamn thing. I just got real fired up about that Mike Bennett thing. I forgot. Can you explain how Jeff Jarrett is a moron? I forgot. I'm young. All right, let's talk about Jeff Jarrett running TNA. So, Jeff Jarrett, this guy, he can't get a job in WWE anymore because he fucked off with $300,000 of Vince McMahon's money. And according to him, he was owed that money already. According to other people, he held Vince hostage. I mean, however you want to do that. But he started TNA in 2002. Basically, the goal of TNA was to offer an alternative and to make sure Jeff Jarrett was on top, pretty much, and that's exactly what happened. But the big changes started happening when he brought in Panda Energy. That's where Dixie Carter came from. I forgot what year that was. Was that 2007, maybe? 2008. What year did Dixie Carter make her big introduction? She wasn't an on-screen character yet, but she was pumping money into the company. But Jarrett's big mistake, well, he had several. One was his reliance on Vince Russo. He was good buddies with Vince Russo from WWE, actually, because they were friends in WWE. Then, Vince Russo followed him to WCW, and Vince Russo made him champion. So they were still friends, and then Vince Russo helped significantly when it comes to Jeff Jarrett and TNA. Again, the company's name was TNA. So that tell you right there he wasn't thinking too much, right? His brain was not right. Sports Entertainment Extreme had girls in cages, which I didn't care about, but turned some people off. But the big thing is he started fucking Kurt Angle's wife. That's the big thing. Because that's what got him kicked out of his own fucking company. Because when he started fucking Kurt Angle's wife. That's what did it. He was already, his wife had died already, and he was going through difficult problems. I think he was having an alcohol issue and all that kind of stuff. But then they found out he was fucking Kurt Angle's wife, and it went all downhill from there. That's when they forced him out of his own company. He got forced out of TNA. Not too long after that, then they turned it into a storyline because everybody knew about it. So now Kurt's got to work through his wife turning on him and hanging out with Jeff. And if he wasn't going off a perk already, Kurt Angle would have been dead. Like he was already going off a perk. So you probably didn't care that much. But by God, could you imagine you got to work with this fucking guy who was your boss and he's fucking your wife? Bruh, that's sick. That's sick shit. But that wasn't even the worst thing. Well, that was the worst thing. He doubled back with his silly gold gimmick where he created, what was that other goofy ass company he came up with? But it never got off the ground. He ended up trying to get back into TNA and put together a partnership with Global Force. Global Force Wrestling was a company formed by Jeff Jarrett because he got forced out of TNA. He came up with championships. He claimed to have a TV deal. He had tapings that he had done in like baseball stadiums or some shit like that for GFW. He ended up trying to merge GFW with Impact to form one company because GFW couldn't get a TV deal because he's a snake oil salesman. What ended up happening is I think he ended up selling the company to Anthem. Anthem bought the tapes of Global Force. Then he got forced out of that too. He turned around, tried to get the tapes for Global Force back, only to find out that Anthem had destroyed the fucking tapes. because he wanted to sell the tapes to Vince. He wanted to sell the Global Force all 12 of the tapes or whatever. It wasn't that much when it comes to Global Force. They didn't have a TV show, so he was just taping stuff. And he was defending the Global Force titles on TNA. It was awful. It was stupid. It was one of the darkest times in TNA history. It was trash. But Global Farce, it was ridiculous. So he ended up winning that case though. Like he ended up winning that case over Anthem, but they destroyed his tapes, so he couldn't sell the tapes. It was sad. It was real sad. Jeff Jarrett's just kind of been slipping on a banana peel for 25 years or some shit like that, man. And always coming up roses. I don't see how that happens. Like he's a blessed human being, man. How could you fuck up as much as Jeff Jarrett? He's fucked up so many bags that he ain't got more bags in the end. It's just insane how he manages to happen. His daddy almost ran WWE. Part of him coming in, what was this, early 90s? It was because his daddy worked there. His daddy was a consultant for Vince. And when Vince was about to go to prison, he wanted to leave the company to Jerry Jarrett. I don't know why, because I don't think Jerry Jarrett and Vince were particularly close, but he just saw that Jerry Jarrett could run a company. And Jerry Jarrett ran the kind of company that Vince liked, because Vince liked all that wild and woolly, crazy shit that they do down in Memphis, which a lot of it was Jerry Jarrett and Jerry Lawler doing all that kind of crazy shit. So because Vince liked that kind of shit, he was going to leave it to Jerry Jarrett. Plus, Jerry Jarrett has like this long history of running the company. But of course, he was just going to be a puppet for Vince, who was going to run the thing from prison. But he didn't go to prison, so it didn't matter. And he ended up jumping ship to WCW in '96. And then came back, and it was just a whole bunch of horse shit. But Jeff Jarrett he's like a lucky rabbit's foot. Like he's a complete total moron. But it always works out for him in the end. So I guess he's not that dumb. He ain't going broke or anything like that. Like he always makes it work. He most recently got over on Effie bitch ass, which was hilarious. Effie was complaining about him on Twitter after they had their match at the Hammerstein or whatever, which was funny. That was great. He showed up drunk to a AAA show. Jeff Jarrett did. And Conan, there's video of it too, because it was on Vampiro's documentary. Jeff Jarrett was drunk as fuck backstage. He's about to get beat up by Karrion Kross, then known as Killer Kross. He's about to get beat up by him. And a bunch of other guys about to beat him up too, because he showed up to the show drunk and he's acting belligerent and stupid, and he's about to get his ass beat. That's when he went out there and gone into business for himself. I forgot what he did. I think he may have said something or did something to that audience, and it was just crazy. But Jeff Jarrett is a wild case, man. I did a review of that documentary on Vampiro. Nobody watched it though. But I talked about Jeff Jarrett being a drunk in that joint too. I need to find some more like interesting documentaries to do reviews on. I like doing documentary reviews. All right, we're almost 2 hours into this thing. Guess it's time to wrap it up a little bit. Talk about the pop culture stream that's going to be coming up on Sunday. Sunday, I'm not sure what I'm going to do. I'm going to UmaCon on Saturday. I may go to UmaCon on Sunday too. So I'm probably going to have tons and tons of manga. I may show my haul. I talked a little bit about Kyrie Irving. One thing I really said was that, the Jews, the Jew who owns the Nets is unhappy. The Jew who runs the NBA is unhappy. I don't really watch basketball. So the first I ever heard about this kid is this, and I call him a kid because I'm pretty sure he's younger than me. And, this amount of pressure that they're putting on him to apologize for something he didn't really do wrong. He put something out there and he won't apologize, and I'm trying to avoid using the term buck breaking because I don't think it fits and I don't like the terminology, but they are trying to break him, and they're silly calling Kaepernick thing, stand for something, even if it means sacrificing everything. That's what he's really doing right now. He's literally doing that by not apologizing. He's still buckled though, because he got to give the Anti-Defamation League $500,000 that they didn't earn. He's going to get extorted out of $500,000 by this pro-Jew organization. Look, I don't got nothing against the Jews, positive or negative, really. I just call it like I see it. He didn't, he said what he feels. Nobody died just because the guy who runs the company is Jewish. He taking it personally. The guy who runs the league is Jewish. He's taking it personally. So it's weird. See, they claim that they're going to deny the money now because everybody started calling it extortion. That's the thing. See, a lot of these organizations, they're starting to kind of evolve. Like, that was the old Jesse Jackson trick. They used to do this back in the 60s. Jesse Jackson would call you a racist unless you gave him money. And because he had the public forum, people would listen to him. I gave this book to my girlfriend, ex-girlfriend, I don't know, whatever. It was about the history of black music. And basically it talked about in Memphis, there was a record label that had black artists, had black music in Memphis or whatever. It was great. But the owners were white. The owners of the company were white. And they didn't always participate in some of the old black power shit that was going on in the 60s and 70s at that time. So what happened is Jesse Jackson would go to these organizations and say, look, you need to pony up some money so that we can have a barbecue or so that we can have this thing. It'd be technically called a sponsorship. You would sponsor a local event, a community event. But it will always be that implicit threat of, that two-pronged attack. One, you make your money with black people because all of your artists are black. You sell black music to black people. You owe us this money. Two, if you don't give us this money, it must be because you're racist. So he started doing that in the 60s. And that shit has been happening for a long time. So almost every time the NAACP or Benjamin Crump or somebody like that, the George Floyd Foundation, Black Lives Matter, all of these organizations, they do the same thing. They try to make money off of a tragedy, and basically it's a backdoor deal. You give us some money, we shake your hand in front of a camera, and the heat goes away. But now people are starting to notice it, because the ADL has been doing this a while too, the Anti-Defamation League. They've been doing it for the Jews for a long time. They've been doing this whole, hey, you should apologize, but also give us some money, right? But now people are starting to catch on. So now they're like, okay, we're going to decline the money. We want the apology because that makes it seem like it's a moral thing. That's what he doesn't want to do. He doesn't want to give us an apology. He'll give us the money because he's a multimillionaire and it means nothing. But we want him to apologize. We want him to say out of his mouth that he doesn't agree with what he put out there and that he's not an anti-Semite and all this kind of stuff. And both him and Kanye West have said the same thing. They're not anti-Semites because they are Semites. And I don't necessarily agree with it, but I don't necessarily disagree with it either. My thing is, and nobody's arguing with them. Everybody just wants to punish them for things that they say. Kanye West came back on Twitter with both barrels loaded. Right? He's on Twitter acting up. Right? Like he's on Twitter acting up. Like he's laying it out there. He laying it on the line, bro. But I knew Kyrie Irving was fucked when I Googled the owner of the Brooklyn Nets, found out he was Jewish. Then I saw Adam Silver is not accepting the apology, doesn't think the Nets did enough. He wants to sit down with Kyrie Irving personally. Googled him. He's Jewish too. And I just said, like, look, man, you should fucking recuse yourself. You're being accused of utilizing power to silence and punish people. You should probably recuse yourself. You should probably step back and say, you know what, I'm too close to this issue. If the plan is to show people that you as a Jewish person is not trying to create some kind of Jewish web of cancellation, you should step back. You should step back. You should be like, the fucking Players Association came out against Kyrie Irving. The fucking players union came out against Kyrie Irving. He literally pays into this organization that came out and rebuked him. He works for that organization, if I remember correctly. He's a member of the board or something like that, right? He's on the executive committee or something. I'm telling you, man, this game is absolutely rigged. And they lead you to believe that talking against white people in general is some kind of heroic act. And you know, nothing bad almost ever happens. Colin Kaepernick wasn't going to make it in the NFL anyway. He was a fucking third string quarterback. He was the shits. He wasn't ever going to go anywhere. If Colin Kaepernick had any talent, they wouldn't have got rid of him for kneeling. They got rid of his ass because he sucked. And he was kneeling. So it's like, you don't have the talent to put up with the attitude. So fuck out of here. But generally speaking, Kyrie Irving is in a bad position because they showed up, and I mean by they, I mean the Jews. They showed up to the next game, bought front row tickets, and was heckling him during the game. Bruh, there's just no way to win, man. There's no way to win in that situation. There's no way to win. Kanye West is currently talking about the amount of power Jews have over black people in the music business. And the exact same thing is happening in the NBA. And what happens? Charles, I'm not a role model, Barkley, talking about, you can't take my $40 million and not like my religion. Like, what the fuck? I play basketball for a living. You know, like he plays basketball. That's what he does. You know? And I think he should come out and turn this whole thing upside down. He should come out and say that if the Brooklyn Nets had a black owner, he wouldn't be in this position. If the NBA, which is over 70% black, had a black chairman, he wouldn't be in this position. And he should turn it around on him. He should use that liberal mumbo jumbo on him and say that these are white men who are trying to use their closeness to white supremacy upon him, or some nonsense. I guarantee you, it'll shake some people's. It'll shake the table enough. He get kicked out the league probably, but he's a basketball player. He's probably got fuck you money, you know. If he's well taken care of and been taking care of himself financially, he's probably got fuck you money by now, you know. So ultimately, I wouldn't have too many opinions on the shit that he said, you know. And I'm looking at his teammates too, like wondering what they thinking. How many Jewish teammates do you think he has? Because that's what Charles Barkley said. Oh, you're trying to what was this? What was the word he used? Divide the league. Like it's some kind of 40%, 60% black Jewish split. Like there's probably all of 2 Jewish players on this entire team. There's one Jewish player on the team, and the owner. That's crazy. That's crazy. Funny though, LeBron James wouldn't say shit about the Chinese. He was smart enough to shut the fuck up. But they've been controlling LeBron James since he was 16 or some shit. Ever since he started getting money under the table. Because legally they couldn't pay him. So they was buying his mama cars and shit like we didn't know what was up. I knew that little nigga couldn't afford to go to no private high school. Come on. And he talked about it too, going to a high school, all white high school or some shit. You think his mama could afford that? Nah, they're taking care of him under the table. They used to do that shit all the time, though. That was before the NIL program. Chris Webber and all them went through all that. So it's not like I'm singling out LeBron James. These people know how to find good players in the hood who ain't got no money. And they take care of them on the hopes that they become a family friend, they get taken care of later. So they've been taking care of LeBron James since he was a teenager. You know, so the idea that he wouldn't shake the table, not that big of a surprise to me. The fact that he's a bootlicker doesn't surprise me at all. You know, I'm surprised that when he said we getting Jewish money or something like that, and they made him take it down. That doesn't surprise me at all. Charlemagne the God and guys like this, none of that shit should surprise you. The more they got to lose, the more ass they gonna kiss. Especially if they work very, very hard to get where they are. Charlemagne the God has been trying to get on TV and all this kind of shit for years. Now he's finally got it. He's finally there. He's gonna kiss every ass in the room, straight up. Charlemagne the God is just a weirdo, you know. And I knew that to double back to the whole funny stuff with Mike Bennett. When I saw Charlemagne the God call, what was that? It was some man in a dress. He's beautiful. Look at him. It's a beautiful woman. I'm like, what? I'm like, all right. I knew the Breakfast Club was paused, and I stopped watching that shit. And now they got the fucking the pride flag there, which wouldn't be a problem if somebody on the set was gay. But apparently nobody on the fucking show is gay, and yet there's a pride flag there. It's like going to the fucking moon. They just put their fucking flag on things, you know? No, it wasn't Bruce Jenner. It was somebody black. It was some, I don't know. Charlemagne is terrible, but he was up there, and him and Charles Barkley and Shaq. Look, Shaq, I'm not surprised. Shaq is what he is. You know, Shaq has been this guy forever. But Charles Barkley really is embarrassing because he was Mr. I'm not a role model. You know, you should raise your own kids, and everybody was like, oh, Charles Barkley. And now him saying that he would have, you know, suspended him and kicked him off the team, and all, like, for posting a goddamn picture. It wasn't like a picture of Jews in a gas chamber or anything like that. It wasn't like a picture of fuck the Jews or anything that would be making fun of Jews. It was black people are Jews, and black people are the real Jews, which is like black Hebrew nationalist stuff. It's not that big of a deal, bro. You know, like, it's not that big of a deal at all. So it's not like it was Holocaust denial stuff, and so it was like really, really embarrassing shit as far as I'm concerned, man. I was really embarrassed, and all I did was watch clips. I don't watch basketball for real, not really. So I was more or less looking at that situation. No, it wasn't Billy Porter either. It was literally, technically, it was a, what they call them, trans woman, but it was a man in a dress. Let's put it like that. It wasn't Billy Porter. Billy Porter is just a weirdo. Charlemagne is more than suspect. He's more than that. Charlemagne is an all-out girly man. He must have put on a dress himself. I don't like Charles Barkley. I don't like the NBA. You know, and I knew it because it was going to be like this, and it's been like this for a long time. You know, but as athletes make more money and become the face of more projects, they are under tighter control. They're wearing golden handcuffs and golden leashes all the time. You know, literally all the time. They're the faces of Sprite and Adidas, and you see it with Kanye West, right? Kanye West started getting dropped from places I didn't even know he had business deals when he came out and said stuff. I was like, damn, I didn't know Kanye worked with them. I didn't know Kanye West did that. You just started seeing it everywhere. It was the same thing with Lupe Fiasco called Barack Obama a terrorist. I started seeing people I didn't even know liked Lupe Fiasco all of a sudden hate Lupe Fiasco. He almost vanished from the radio. You know, he was on TV getting destroyed by both the left and the right. The ESPN and CNNs are making fun of him. Fox News, Bill O'Reilly has him on the air and is trying to chew him out. You can tell when somebody is getting fucked over in the media. And it's like you can tell when Kanye West is getting fucked over. All of a sudden, everybody's got a story. It's not positive. It makes them either look stupid or crazy or something like that. And it just goes on and on. Kyrie Irving, it's just his time, dog. It's just Kyrie Irving's time. And the worst thing about it is Kanye West is boosting him. because Kanye agrees with them largely. So Kanye boosting this shit. Kanye is red hot right now. Like everybody is really mad at Kanye. So Kyrie Irving being backed by Kanye West, even if he's not, reciprocating, it's not looking good for the boy. It's not looking good for them all. That's exactly what it is, Najee Savage. Everybody called it racist when they told LeBron to shut up and dribble. Now they're doing the exact same thing to Kyrie Irving. They do it literally all the time. The true bad boys of the NBA got brutalized. Yeah, the Iversons and the Ron Artests, the guys who say "fuck the league, we're gonna do it our thing." That's when the league was fun, though. When guys like Allen Iverson were in it, that's when the league was fun. The NFL isn't fun anymore either. It's the same shit. It's been completely co-opted. It's all too. People say WWE is too pussified. You need to pay attention to the NBA and the NFL. They're far more pussified than the WWE. Far more. It's embarrassing how bad the NBA has gotten. I remember I was around when they started finding guys for not wearing like suits and ties and shit to it's like, ugh. They started saying the dudes couldn't have braids or dreadlocks or anything like that. Like they was able to get through some of that stuff. But that's only because the star players fought for it. Do you think they will be able to do it now? No, LeBron James can tell all the niggas to cut their hair. We're supposed to be representatives of our communities and of our people and like, shut your one-page reading ass up, barely literate fool. I don't know why people listen to fucking athletes. And look, I'm not even a supporter of Kyrie Irving. I just noticed some weird shit, right? Like you notice patterns and you just can't unnotice them. That's the thing about Adam Silver and the guy who owns the Nets. It's like you can't unsee it. You can't unsee. I'm supposed to pretend that the guy who owns the Nets is not Jewish. I'm supposed to pretend that the fucking guy who's running the league is not Jewish. I'm supposed to pretend that I don't see that. I'm supposed to pretend I don't know that's happening. Why? Why do I have to pretend that? I'd have had more respect for Adam Silver if he just said, as a Jewish man, I am offended by what Kyrie Irving said. I think it casts aspersions among Jewish people or whatever that I don't agree with. Because that's what the black dudes do. The black dudes be like, man, as a black man, I am offended by this guy having cornrows in my league. I'm offended by not having a black coach. But I don't see no black players, no black coaches, the black NBA union, nobody standing up for Kyrie Irving except fucking Kanye West and a bunch of first name, bunch of numbers on Twitter. Where is everybody at? Why is he on an island by himself? Here's something else you might want to take on to with this comment. Jesse Jackson, we were talking about Jesse Jackson just a minute ago, right? 1984. Jesse Jackson runs for president of the United States, right? He goes. What do you think he called New York, and why do you think he called New York that? He called New York Town because of the Jewish population in New York. Brooklyn Nets, Town, New York. He ended up having to apologize, of course. Shook hands with all the tiny hats. Apologize. Look, Jesse Jackson, fuck him. He's an idiot. But goes to show who you can and can't talk about. Who you can and can't talk about. Because when he wanted to run for president, he couldn't say nothing about them Jews. No, he's not. He's not. No, he's not. He's a tiny hat though. Yeah, I heard about the rapper that got shot in Houston. Takeoff from the Migos. I'm not really even familiar with the Migos. I'm not really a fan of those guys. But it is very sad. And I will say this when it comes to, I've been looking at the situation surrounding it, and he was at a dice game, and the moment I woke up the next day and found out he was dead. And I saw Dice Game, and I was like, God damn it. Why don't these niggas realize, man, nothing good comes out of a dice game, ever. I have never seen a dice game that didn't end in a fight or a shooting. I've never seen a dice game that didn't end in a fight or a shooting. I say I'm almost 40 years old. I've been a part of dice games. I've seen dice games. Every time it is a fucking dice game, somebody gets into a fight or somebody gets shot. Almost every single fucking time. Because it's real money and the game is moving very fast. Now, of course, they say he wasn't the intended target, which of course, since you're shooting dice, you're in a small space. If somebody gets mad and he's gonna start shooting, it can shoot anybody. You know, it's real fucking sad. It was awful that what happened to Takeoff. You know, it was. But there's something about that rap industry, man, it's frightening. Just a frightening number of rappers getting murdered. You know, I remember I was talking to somebody about it, and I was like, man, it's almost as if these dudes sold their soul, and they just come and collect it very early. You know, it's almost as if these young boys sold their soul for fame, and then the price of fame is to die before you're 30, just to get killed viciously before you're 30 years old, or when you at the height of your popularity for you to get killed. I don't understand that either. I don't know why they were shooting dice either. It makes no sense. You know, it makes no sense for you to be out there shooting dice. It makes no sense for you to be grouped around a bunch of other people anywhere in a tiny ass space. You should have other things to do. You know, Darren Gordon Hill says, when I die, please ensure I described as provided music for the channel. No need for grave or flowers. Let the rats eat me on my floor. Yeah. Okay, it's hip hop producer, YouTube subscriber. That's the thing, man. Dame Dash got kicked out of the industry for basically saying the same thing. You know, Dame Dash is going on. See, Dame Dash is crazy too. And it's the same thing with Kanye. Like, something legitimately is wrong with Kanye, but Kanye is also consistent. And it's the same thing with Dame Dash. They just don't have a filter. Dame Dash he believed himself to be at a certain level where he could say whatever the fuck he wanted to say to whoever he wanted to say it to, and nothing would happen to him. And then he very quickly found out that he's not at that level. When they snatched Jay-Z from underneath him, and he said, I can make another one. And then Jay-Z was like, well, you made Hove, gonna make another Hove. And that was it. You know, that was it. They killed him. It was over for Dame after that. You know, everything he did, everything he talked after that was all that Breakfast Club shit. It was nice, but they wasn't giving him no traction. He was dead in the streets at that point. Dame was just old dusty nigga who used to hang out with Jay-Z. Now he's not that anymore. You know, but Dame has been saying that for a long time. Kanye too. This ain't the first time Kanye said anything like that. Charlemagne the God also. They made that Vlad TV. I saw this on Twitter. Vlad TV and Kanye West, not Kanye West, Vlad TV and Charlemagne the God were sitting down talking about a Kanye comment where he said, Happy Kwanzaa to all the artists and Happy Hanukkah to all of the label execs. And they laughed. Nobody says, oh, that's anti-Semitic. Why would you say that? It's like, look at who owns the fucking labels. I used to do a blog. I did a blog on Too Short who was talking about Barry Weiss, who used to be the CEO of Jive Records. Barry Weiss, according to Too Short, he wanted to do more street inspirational songs, but of course, all the blowjob Betty shit that he was doing was the stuff that was making more money. So he made a deal with Barry Weiss where he would come up with all of the most raunchy, disgusting albums that he would come up with. And then at a certain point, Jive would pay for him to do more introspective sort of street tales. At least that's what he claimed. And then he also claimed that they reneged on the deal because Of course, Jive didn't give a shit about his conscious rap garbage. They wanted him to make Shake That Monkey and all that other kind of stuff, right? Ice Cube also talked about this on No Vaseline when he talked about Jerry Heller, the Jew who broke up the NWA. Leor Cohen, how many times have he been called out? You know, they call out Leor all the time. Leo Cohen was on the Breakfast Club, and they approached him like, "Why are you selling out Black Death and all that other horseshit?" He had no answer for it. I got a label to run. Like, oh, okay, but it's true. It's true. It's like people have done the research, man, and all it is pattern recognition. It's not even, we're not even taking it to the next step and saying that it's a collaborative effort by all the Jews in this office. I'm not even saying that. I'm just saying it's very weird that when Too Short was getting a lot of heat for the content of his records, his label executive was Jewish. When the NWA broke up and they took Ice Cube in one direction, they took Eazy-E in another direction, the guy who broke them up was Jewish. You know, and that was just kind of, it keeps being the same fucking thing. Jay-Z left Dame Dash to hang out with Leor Cohen, right? Beats by Dre. Jimmy Iovine. Let's do a Google search to see if Jimmy Iovine is Jewish. What do you want to what do you want to guess that Jimmy Iovine is Jewish? How much you want to bet that Jimmy Iovine is Jewish? The former CEO of Interscope. Now, Kanye West is taking it to the next level. Like, either you're Jewish or you're married to the Jews, which is fair enough. You know, that's fair enough. Jimmy Iovine he grew up Italian. Okay, so he grew up Catholic. He grew up Catholic. Okay, so Jimmy Iovine's not Jewish. Okay. Let's see. But did he marry a Jewish woman? Here's the funny thing. New York rock radio DJ Carol Miller and Iovine had a 2-year relationship in the late 70s. Miller says, quote, Jimmy had a wonderful, close-knit Italian Catholic family from Brooklyn and Staten Island who could not be nicer to me. It was I, the Jewish girl from Queens, who always felt silently out of place. So, no, he's not Jewish, but his girlfriend was. So, it's just pattern observation, man. I'm not even saying that she helped him or she did anything. I'm just saying, I bet you Jimmy Iovine is Jewish. He wasn't, but he had a girlfriend that was. Oh, don't let Chuck D, by the way, who that member of Public Enemy, who got booted out of the group because he said some quote unquote anti-Semitic shit, and Chuck D didn't have anything to say about that. Chuck D been on some bullshit for a long time too. The thing is, Kyrie ended up being right about the vaccine shit, didn't he? Mm-hmm. He ended up being right about a lot of that shit. You know? Or at least having the right idea. You know? He wasn't too far off the mark. Let's put it like that. This video has been very illuminating for a lot of people who are going to listen to this and be like, oh, I thought Mongo just did impressions and talked about wrestling. I'm like, I'm talking about politics all up and through this joint. And I had no intention of doing so. But this is like, these are serious topics, man. I take seriously what happened to Takeoff, man. It's fucked up, you know? And I would be embarrassed if so many of my favorite rappers were getting killed. Like, I think that is wrong for people to say that, blame all rappers for the overdoses and stuff like that. Like that shit, I'm not with it. But it's the killings that bother me. The people who want to do drugs, it's like, all right, that's just a Darwin Award. You want to drink codeine until you pass out every night and you just end up having a heart attack and go to sleep or whatever. It is what it is, bro. But it's these murders that bother me, dog. It's the PNB Rock shit. It's the XX Tentaciones. It's that shit that bothers me, man. I don't like that stuff, man. Because I woke up literally the next morning and I'm like, I'm so happy I wasn't a fan of the Migos, because the first fucking video I saw was a dude's head split the fuck open in the street. Could you imagine if you was a fan and you saw that? Like, God, come on. Like, bro, that's sick. That's fucking sick, man. I remember seeing the video when Nipsey Hussle got shot. Like, this is fucking sick, bro. This sucks. And these young kids out here are seeing this shit, and everybody they have any type of parasocial relationship with gets fucking murdered. That's gonna make them put them in a bad headspace. Clive Davis. Let's take a look. See, sometimes you have to dig a little under the surface, because John Stewart is part of the tribe, but Stewart ain't really his real last name. You have to dig a little deeper. Let's see, Clive Davis. Oh, me and Clive Davis share a birthday. That's pretty cool. Hey, that's great. Oh, Clive Davis is Jewish. No wonder Diddy wanted to have a conversation with Kanye West, right? How about that? How about Diddy, who got helped to get into the business by Clive Davis, a Jewish man? And you know what? Just in case people maybe people won't get this far into the video. Let's say this though. Jews have done black people a great credit. I will say that, because sometimes when you look at these observations, it's a Jewish dude giving a black dude a break. Like this Clive Davis Diddy stuff. There were no black people there that was going to help Diddy out. Who the hell was going to do it? So a Jewish man did it. Okay, fine. But once you do that, though, now you got that golden handcuff on you. You still got that golden handcuff on you. It is what it is, man. I respect it. Like I looked at like integration, and a lot of the integration into sports and stuff like that was Jewish guys helping black dudes get into the sport. I mean, it was what it was. I'm not against it. I don't dislike it. I don't blame Jews for it. It's just an observation, that when you look at a lot of fighters and stuff like that, that's fighting and like basketball. I think it was baseball that were like the Jewish owners of the team brought in Jackie Robinson, or is that basketball? It's one of the two. It is what it is, man. They cut brothers a break sometimes, So I do think they deserve that respect, But since the left told us that we need to count heads, how many white people own the top 500 companies, and X amount of those are male and X amount of those are white straight men? Okay, so let's go white straight male Jewish. Yeah, I think it was basketball too. Yeah, Jackie Robinson was in baseball, but I think didn't the Jews own the baseball team? Yeah, I heard about that, about the whole Jews and the the high interest rates. But they are also, and this is I don't think anti-Semitic to say, they're the only ones who believed in interest. Christians didn't believe in interest, and neither did the Arabs. See, in Arab society, they never really had capitalism formed how we have capitalism because they never had interest rates. It was considered haram to charge interest. So if you lent money, you had to give it back at the same rate or consider it a gift. That doesn't that kills your incentive structure. Your incentive structure. How do I not know what? But it kills your incentive structure. So if you don't have any incentive structure to loan money out, you don't get the money. People don't come to you because you're just going to get your money back. But if you make money on your money, you're more likely to loan money. Now, the first bankers weren't Jewish, contrary to what people believe. They weren't. I think they were Catholics. I think it was in Italy, Venice to be precise. I think they were some of the first bankers. But like I said, they didn't do interest. Once interest started kicking in because the Jews could charge interest to non-Jews, that's where they started making a lot of money because a lot of the Christians, they didn't believe in interest. It's a sin. And Arabs didn't believe in interest. It's haram, which is also a sin. So, yeah. But I don't think it was a conspiracy. It wasn't like a Jew conspiracy. It's how they set up their religion, They say Jackie Robinson's team owners that brought him into the MLB, James and Deary Mulvey, Walter O'Malley, Branch Rickey, J.L. Smith. Mulvey. I'm not going to go into that though. But I don't remember, I'm not really a sports guy. But it says, but they allow N-word song, but no Jew slurs. That warrants investigation. Yeah, they're not going to put up with that shit, man. Remember, Michael Jackson did it though. Michael Jackson used the word, the K word on the song, and they bleeped that shit out. They blurred that shit out quick. That shit hilarious to me though. It's sad, but it's funny. I have nothing against Jewish people, man. I'm making an observation, not a judgment. I judge how they treat people. I judge the treatment of Kanye West. I judge the treatment of Kyrie Irving. I don't necessarily agree or disagree with what they're saying. I grew up around this kind of shit. The blacks are the real Jews. Blacks are the real Native Americans. We were here before Columbus. I grew up with that shit, man. I grew up with that Black Power fist, celebrate Kwanzaa. I grew up with that stuff, man. I grew up with it. I understand it. Those dudes do not hate Jews. They don't. Now, maybe the Nation of Islam hates Jews. Maybe. But you have to ask the question that is making an observation. A sign of hatred. It's not. It's not. If I go outside my house and I see a lot of blue jays in one tree, and I say, damn, it's a lot of blue jays in that tree, that I didn't make an inference that all the blue jays decided to meet up in this tree. I'm not saying that they did anything negative in that fucking tree. I'm just saying there's a lot of fucking blue jays in that tree. That's what I'm saying. And if you look at the tree and you see a lot of blue jays, you will agree there's a lot of blue jays in that tree. That's all we're saying when we talk about the media. There's a lot of Jews in the media. A lot of them. And you can say, well, you're looking at a small subsection of the population, yada, yada, yada. If you look at all the people who work at CNN, probably 1% of them are Jews or something like that. Okay, fine. But Don't say don't look. Because if you tell me not to look, this is gonna make me look. And then that also is going to tell me that you got something to hide. So don't do that. I'm willing to accept that when somebody makes a file of all the Jews in CNN, that doesn't mean that it's all the people who work in CNN. It could be 200 Jews in CNN, but it could be 600 people who work there. So they're literally like a third of the population or something like that. That's all. We just say there's a lot of fucking blue jays in the tree. Like there's something going on in that damn tree. There's so many blue jays in the tree, right? Because it's either something wrong with the tree or there's something wrong with the blue jays. It's like we don't want to have the conversation. Like, no, fuck that. We gonna have this conversation. And that's the one thing that I do like about Kyrie Irving and Kanye West, and that's why I keep bringing it up, and that's why I keep participating in the conversation. Because we're gonna do it. We might as well get it done, brother. Let's do it. And what makes me want to talk about it more is the fact that they don't want you to talk about it. That's why I want to talk about it. Because I've been reading about the blacks and the Jews for a long time. There's a book right here on my shelf. I just pulled it off. Cornel West, Democracy Matters. There's a chapter in here, I'm sure, on blacks and Jews. Here it is. Let's see. Forgiving new Jewish and Islamic democratic identities. They've been talking about this shit forever. They've been talking about this shit forever. Forever they've been talking. This book came out in like the early 90s. Let me take a look and see what year this book came out. This book came out in 2004. No, that can't be right. Because I'm pretty sure this is probably a reprint. Or no, that's why it wasn't right. This one did come out in 2004. He got another book on my shelf somewhere around here that came out earlier with a similar chapter, but I can't remember. Oh, here it is. It's Race Matters. Okay, so this one came out in the 90s, and I'm pretty sure this one got a topic on Jews too. Nihilism, pitfall of racial reasoning, demystifying the new black conservatism on black and Jewish relations, page 101. So I've been reading about this shit for years, man. I've been reading about this shit for years, man. I'm telling you, it's not. Recent debates on the state of black-Jewish relations have generated more heat than light. Instead of critical dialogue and respectful exchange, we have witnessed several bouts of vulgar name-calling and self-righteous finger-pointing. Battles conducted on the editorial pages like the one between Henry Louis Gates Jr., the eminent Harvard professor, and John Henrik Clarke, the distinguished Pan-African scholar in the New York Times and City Sun, respectively, do not take us very far in understanding black-Jewish relations. Black anti-Semitism and Jewish anti-black racism are real, and both are profoundly American as cherry pie. There was no golden age in which blacks and Jews were free of tension and friction. Yet there was a better age when the common histories of oppression and degradation of both groups served as a springboard for genuine empathy and principled alliances. Since the late 60s, black-Jewish relations have reached a nadir. Why is this so? This is the first chapter of Democracy Matters by Cornel West. This book was originally published in 1994. 1994. So he goes into the history of Jews in the United States and the history of blacks and Jews and all this kind of shit. So this stuff is old as hell. It's old as hell. It's nothing new. We get into this whole blacks and Jews thing all the time. Same thing to you, Roy Camp. All the blacks, the Jews, the Latinxes, the Native American, Chinese folks, the one-legged trannies. All of you guys have a great night. You're great, especially if you participated this far. Yeah, Darren Gordon Hill. I'm supposed to have some kind of reactionary response to the things I'm told by the right members. I want to learn, not just vilify. I don't want to be told to point and yell at somebody. You know, I don't even like that on the right when they do that too much. They want to point and yell. You want to point at somebody and just say yell at them. Like, okay, no. Let's see. Let's see what's going on first. We can yell at them later. We can yell at them at any time. You know, like we don't want to get into the whole just point and yell. Let's look at the reasoning for why people say things and what they're saying. We'll get around to it eventually. We'll get around to the yelling if yelling is what's needed. But let's not rush to yell. Let's first understand, you know, that quick condemnation is suspicious to me. You know, that we need to very quickly condemn, and everybody needs to condemn with one voice this situation. It's like, no, how about no? There's some things that you can swiftly condemn with one voice. Pedophilia being one of them. Rape being another one. You know, wholesale slaughter, murder, or whatever. But if you have a belief that if you're being victimized, okay, let's talk about it. Let's run this. You know, even from the woke left, you believe that there are men putting together a society to fuck over women. All right, let's have that conversation if that's what you want to have. Don't get mad when it doesn't go your way, though. You know, if it's not going to turn out the way that you wanted it to, let's not be too upset about it. You know, but can we really have that conversation? No, not really. You know, it's nutty to me. You know, that we can't have that conversation. We're not allowed to, and there's no good reason for it. You know, there's no good reason for it. All right, I've been going for 2.5 hours, man. I need some water. I need to blow my nose. I need to go to sleep. I've been up since yesterday. I took like a power nap of like 4 hours. I'm tired, dog. But I punched through. I punched through. Thank you guys. I don't know how this turned into a wrestling. I guess it became political when I started with fucking Mike Bennett. And I really had no interest in talking about Mike Bennett at all. But once I saw that goddamn tweet, I was like, you know what? We got to talk about this fucking guy. And then we ended up on Kyrie Irving and the Jews. But respect to, you know, my black Hebrew Israelites and the true Jewish people out there, man. Don't get upset by what the fuck Kanye and Kyrie Irving is saying. You know, gotta have some. I think part of what people get offended and demanding is because they're insecure, you know. And like, I don't get upset at blackface or white people saying nigger or anything like that, because I'm not insecure, you know. I don't look, and plus I don't take that shit personally. I don't look at it as if they're trying to mock me personally. They're mocking a caricature of what a black person is. They're mocking a caricature of what they think a black person should be. And I'm not that. It's the same thing with drag queens. Drag queens mock this glamorous female form that doesn't represent women. It's literally a cartoon of a woman. But people don't get offended that, well, some people do get offended by drag queens. A lot of people don't. So I don't get offended by a lot of stuff. But I'm in the minority. I got thick skin. I don't get too upset by things. But I do understand that there is an issue where people are, you know, pushing buttons, you know, in order to try to force you to be a hypocrite. But I'm at this point now where I'm like, you know, we got to start getting to the meat of the matter and stop talking about this surface level shit. Nobody cares what grown men do in the bedroom or what they do out on the street, if they want to wear women's clothes or not. Nobody gives a shit, really. Nobody really ever cared. It was all about, hey, is it good for kids? Most people say no. If you say yes, Okay, bring your best argument to the table. You don't want to do that though. You just want to call people homophobes and transphobes and shit. Nobody's interested in that. I'm not interested in your name calling. You know, same thing with the Jewish situation. Same thing with the with when I get attacked for talking about how rap music is detrimental and it's fucking over black people because look at how all the rappers been killed lately. You know, oh, how could you say that about you grew up on rap music? Like I did. That's why I'm telling you it's fucked up. Mentally it fucks you up. It makes you completely desensitized to horrific shit that really happens. And you're desensitized to it because every few months a rapper is shot and killed. You get used to it. You don't want to get used to that shit. No. All right. Thank everybody for listening. Like, share, subscribe. I don't know if this one, I'm pretty sure YouTube is going to take this one down. I'm surprised it's still up. I'm almost certain Twitter is going to take it down. I'm going to let it ride, though. We're going to see how long it lasts. All right. Thank you guys for your time. I'll talk to you guys later, man. Peace out.